Welcome to the Power of Integrity podcast, where leadership aligns with principles. I'm delighted to have today's guest, Jake Hiemstra from Hiemstra Design and Construction. Jake and I have a long history, almost 20 years now. Jake had actually done the design in our office, so much of the integrity and fabric of what our looks, our brand, and our image we owe to Jake and his company. Well, Jake, I'm just delighted to have you on. I'd love you to tell our audience a little bit about your path and journey, personally and professionally, right up from where you started to where you are today, and give us everything in between.
Well, fantastic. And thank you for inviting me as well, Ralph. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the comment, too, of creating a space behind you and who you guys are. I think that kind of developed way back. I think I would have to start with the fact that my father, when I was younger, kind of said, go out and find something that you would really love doing. And when you love doing it, you will never have to worry about money. Because when you love doing it, you'll do it with such passion, and people will want you for that passion because you will do it with such skilled work and character and integrity because of that, because you love it so much. And so that's actually kind of one of the things I held on to from my father from when I was a teenager, even, in fact. And he had grown up to be, he was a farmer early on in the Netherlands, and then came to America and was a farmer, and kind of taught us just, dirt smart work, work ethics, and always to do above and beyond and everything that you do. And so when I started out, actually, I was going to go to college and play football, and decided really at that point, that was all I wanted to do, is play football. But after a few injuries, didn't look like a great, bright future for me. So I went right into actually buying a maintenance route because I had grown up learning about farming and skilled with landscaping and all these different things. And so I ended up, buying this landscape route, which is actually just some lawn maintenance, which is great. It's just, as a kid, I loved doing it. I loved making everything neat. I would cross cut the lawns and everything. And it was something that I learned even back then as a young guy, that everything had to be perfect when I was done and left. And there was nothing left that a customer would go, you missed this or you missed that. And so it started off that way. And then I was curious about building homes, and went to work with a gentleman from my church and said, hey, I would like to learn. And so I went with him. He says, hey, why don't you go up with the carpenter who's a journeyman? And this journeyman was going to teach me how to kind of put things together and cut angles and everything. And I was on the roof with him, and he was trying to cut in a really crazy angle of stuff. And it was so intriguing to me, and I seen it already in my head how those angles needed to be, and I knew I had something going. And he couldn't figure it out, and he said, I'm going to take lunch. And I said, you know what, you mind if I just stay and kind of figure it out and play with it, just to learn? He says, yeah, go ahead. So I saw it, I cut it, I put it together. He came back from lunch and said, you don't need me. So it was one of those things I knew that I had, the eye for things and creativity, and seen it beforehand. And that's kind of what I've taken into my business at this point, is really kind of foresee what a place really needs. But, interesting enough is everything evolves, and you grow in all these different things, and you learn more and more as you go on. But that was when I basically started my business. I was only 22 years old, got my general contractor's license. And the first project I did was we bought a piece of land and built a spec house, which was crazy. At that age, I had an uncle that was actually really interested in investing, and he said, let's just go for it. And it was the first success at that point. So it was a lot of fun doing it that way.
Yeah, fast forward us to today a little bit about some of the projects you're doing, have done. You've told me about some wonderful things that are happening currently. Love to hear that. And of course, you're doing a little bit of work in our office.
Yes, that's I'm just thrilled too. That's just another testimony too, Ralph. Is just I was honored the fact that you remembered me even after all these years, and we hadn't talked for quite a while, and called me back. And I think it's just I'm thrilled about doing that as well too. So to come up to speed of where we're at today, I had gone through all sorts of experiences. I worked with the Army Corps of Engineers, learned how detailed those people were, and we would actually inspect every nail. And so it was really about a lot about integrity there, that I learned how the detail that they really wanted to have on every job. And from there, I built bridges, I built bomb shelters, I built barracks, you name it. It was all kinds of different things I was able to build. I built tilt-up buildings, and had the opportunity to really expand my experience. And then I came out to Laguna Beach in 1995 and started building custom homes. And I really got deeply involved with that. And for the past almost 30 years now, I'm actually from Newport Coast to Laguna Beach building, I call them high-end custom homes. They're sometimes 12,000, 13,000 square foot to down to just a beach cottage. So all avenues of styles. And just recently we had a really great project that I did a reveal last night. And what we do is I'm kind of incognito, if you will. Never cared about the social media, never cared about all the different things, but just cared about being able to do something so well that customer would refer me to my next customer.
Yes, yes. And the fact, the reason we were not connected over the years because the craftsmanship you did required no real changes, and it was timeless and continues to be timeless. So what a testament. And I know you're doing bigger work than just a square footage in this office for sure. And we're blessed to have you again put your hands on our firm's interior design.
Ralph, that's the thing too. I think it's really interesting. Doesn't matter the scale of how much or what. If you do something with integrity, it's the same regardless, whether it's a small thing for somebody or a great thing for somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So speaking about the topic that we're here for on integrity, where leadership aligns with principle, tell me something. What does integrity mean to you?
Well, I look at it this way, Ralph. Integrity really is something that actually brands you and gives you a name by how you perform and what you do with yourself and how you carry yourself with people. And I think that is actually probably the biggest advertisement you could ever have, is by being, in that way, you kind of create really your character, who you are. And it's seen by all those that you work with. And I think it's really something that the integrity is also something that was probably developed as a young guy, basically growing up in the church. And my dad would and my mother would be, everything they did was like, you have to do the right thing no matter what. So that was kind of the way I look at integrity, is really something that if that's the case, I want my actions to really speak who I am.
Yeah. Doing the right thing even when no one's looking.
That's actually probably the most important.
Right? Because the walls that you put up, the drywall you put up, the integrity behind it. Well, how is that wall built that's behind that drywall that we can't see the wall behind it? Right?
That's right. That's right. And interesting you say that too. I look at Ralph as in another perspective of, as a contractor and a designer builder, I've done all kinds of different things as far as expert witnessing. I was a forensic expert for construction defect. And I look at it too, like you're saying, what's behind it. A doctor knows exactly what's inside you by just looking at you, knows what's going on. I feel like I'm a doctor of a home. I know what's in the wall. I know the structure. I know what's going to be broken. I know what's failing, and which is really kind of an interesting perspective. So whenever anybody wants to, say, hey, we would like to do this, but we just don't want to, worry about money. That's everybody's, outlook on remodeling. But in that point too, would you go to a doctor that was cheap? Is the point. Would you? No, you wouldn't, because your life depends on it. Well, if I'm going to create your resting place, I want you to be comfortable there.
Yeah,
And that's my perspective of that.
absolutely, for sure. Now you have employees, you have subcontractors as a GC. What, where do you think integrity plays a role in terms of their loyalty, their productivity, and their, in fact, their client-facing interactions when they are interacting with clients on your behalf?
Well, I always tell every subcontractor, whether new or old, I remind them as well that me personally, I'm only as good as my worst worker or carpenter or whatever it is, because those are the things that customers remember, the mistakes more. And that comes to mind to customers at the time of, there's something wrong with this, there's something wrong with this. And my name is what's on that. And if that's the case, I want to make sure they understand that how I would like it done. And if you're going to represent me, I will be watching you. You'll get another job if you continue to do that. And so that's with the subcontractors. And sometimes I'm teaching them. I always go in the perspective of with the subcontractor, you're the professional. I'm just overseeing you. I have done every aspect of construction, but I let them take the lead so they actually take some pride with it as well.
Yeah.
Because a leader that actually overpowers and overbears, these people don't like to work for sometimes. And so what I like to do is I says, what's your idea about this? And if I use their idea, it just makes them shine and it makes them want to do it with such pride. And so it's kind of fun in that way too, because you mentor people into another level of their business and uplifting their business as well.
But tremendous insight. It's essentially you're in giving them the pride of ownership, right? That's their project now because they're doing it their way.
That's right. And the biggest compliment you get with that is the customer says, this house was built with such love, and it only is commented that way if all of us do that.
Right. Yeah. So there's a wonderful saying, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that's got to be true in your world where you can't control every subcontractor's every action because you can't be on their back. In fact, they would not like you being over their back all day long.
That's correct. And that's a good point. It kind of brings to mind, Ralph, a project that I did where this plumber wanted to do the job that he was going to do, set and finish, and putting all faucets together on this really nice home that I was doing. And he said, I can't make it there. I can go there Saturday. I says, well, I won't be there, but you okay with everything? And yeah, no problem. Well, lo and behold, what happened was a valve actually got loose. He didn't know how to turn it off. And we were all in the finished wood and everything. And he let it blow for about 2 minutes. And so the damage that caused, I didn't know, and he didn't say anything right away. And so what happened was mold developed behind the wall. And so I had to look at it and go, no matter what he does, I have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I went immediately to taking care of the problem with integrity and say, it doesn't matter if he doesn't pay for it or nothing, it's still my problem because I hired him, which was my mistake at that point, Ralph. I mean, letting him do it on a day that I wasn't there thinking it's not that hard, but sometimes the simplest things go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to ask you, and that might be the answer to this question about when integrity was tested, when a counterparty in a relationship, maybe you're doing business, maybe it's a customer, no longer a customer, but you entered into an engagement or a relationship and somebody lacked integrity and it ultimately was exposed. Do you have another example besides that plumber not coming forward with the information they should have?
Yes, I think there was, a lot of times they're caught in time. And I try to stay on top of that. And through the years have hired the proper ones to get through the difficult parts and have been very blessed through the years to be able to have that quality of integrity from my subcontractors as well. And, when you're looking for integrity, it's easy to see in a subcontractor or a person in general by how they carry themselves on the job and how they do the work. And I've had some amazing, craftsmen basically putting together things, and it was like they did additional above and beyond. So those are the things that I've mostly been experienced. But there's been situations that, like this plumbing issue. There was another one that was a roof leak that took place, but it ended up being the roofer did something wrong. This was on a project, and they were able to come back and take care of the problem. But other than that, I've been very fortunate, and I keep crossing my fingers that continues on. But I think what keeps me in that avenue is that you oversee everything and keep looking back and making sure, and no matter what it takes,
Yeah. I'm gonna stay on this point just a bit because I'm wondering, let's go outside of your professional and business world where you've encountered someone in that counterparty in that relationship personally where they didn't bring their best of integrity to the equation and how that unfolded. Was there an example somewhere in your life?
Well, if you were to say someone to be honest, because honesty is actually a characteristic of integrity, I would say. A customer, reminds me of, that was a CEO of a big company that was a clothing company across the country. And I built a house for him. And I was told prior to that, this guy's difficult to work with. And he basically will try to, grind you and do whatever he's going to do. And I thought, you know what? A friend referred him, and their daughter was dating his son and all this stuff. You know how that goes. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll just do it. And I had that gut feeling. But anyways, long story short of that is that at the end, he didn't want to pay. And he wanted me to do something and construct something. And it was a simple thing as a gate that would actually, in the design that he wanted, would actually swell up and buckle. And I told him, we can't do that. He says, but I like that look. And I says, well, if you like that look, you're going to have to take the chance. And if it doesn't work, like I say, we'll have to replace it. Long and the short of that is that it definitely buckled. And when it buckled, he says, when are you going to get me a new gate? And so my integrity was placed on the line there at that point. His integrity, it showed by what he stated. And so I built him a new gate, and he was holding back the money at that time. And I think he was trying to find more reasons. So finally, he didn't want to pay again. And I was like, what do I do with this? I don't want to deal with this frustration. And I found out in this is that, Ralph, that you can't change who people are. But when it frustrates you and you're agonizing over different things and trying to make something work, and my whole purpose is actually to make my customer happy. That's my paycheck. And I couldn't make this guy happy for some reason. And it's rare. I may have like one or two in the last almost 40 years that had that. And it's a personality issue that I find. And this point, I was like, I went to a friend of mine that's a psychologist, and we just were chatting about it. And she basically said, Jake, you can't change him. And I said, you're right, I can't. But you're letting him change you. Don't let your integrity fail here, basically is what she said. And so I said, I got it. Went to him and said, here's the last bill. Pay it. If not, no problem. You must need the money more than I do. And I walked away. Wow. And so left it at that. And so that was just kind of it was an interesting situation.
Well, our audience wants to know. I know I'm curious on behalf of the audience. Did the money ever come in?
It didn't.
Still.
But I am okay.
But you're clear with it. Yes.
Because I set it free by saying I can't change him, and I'm okay with it because it's not about the money. You know what I mean? I knew after I left that project, I did everything that I was asked to. Yeah. And so I'm in a good place with that. So that's how that works there. And that's amazing. That's why you don't need to worry about the money.
Right.
It'll come back.
Yeah, the universe has a way of settling the score, doesn't it?
Well, shortly after, he actually got fired from the CEO from that company.
Oh my gosh.
I said, I don't want to say the revenge, but that's not in my hands, and I didn't do it.
Yes. Now you've touched on this, and you probably have example after example where integrity has led to customer loyalty.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, Ralph, for one, just to be able that you called me back after so many years. I mean, that's one thing that just a testimony to it in itself. But I do have several customers that call me. I have one a doctor that keeps calling me back, and I take care of everything that he asked for. And it's one of those things where I will go back to a customer years and years after, and whatever problem they have, we'll figure a way to solve their problem. But with that integrity is interesting enough is I have not advertised for my business. I can't even tell you when the last time I had, to be honest with you. And every job for over 20 some odd years in this past, I had advertised maybe prior to that. But every job has been a referral from a great customer. And then they keep talking. Oh, you need to hire this guy. You need to hire this guy. And the one I did, it was actually this past year, and it was down in Dana Point area, Monarch Beach area. This gentleman I met 20 years ago in his neighborhood, and he watched me build this house. And it was somebody else's house across the street from him. And he says, one day you're going to build me a house. He says, okay, yeah, love to, So 20 years later, he called me up and said, I want you to just build my house. And we bought a place. And so I went in and helped him to design it with him. And they're extremely happy. And it was a thrill to be able to do that, But again, this is one of those things where these customers are great customers. So they're going to they hang out with great people, you know what I mean? Yes. And so the customer that I'm going to get is going to be somebody that's like-minded in that way.
Yes. Yes, and after 40 years, you're starting to develop the next generation. I know that we've met the next generation in Jackson. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that and how you're infusing the notion of integrity and quality work, building that company and continuing this company and its legacy long after you decide to sunset and do something differently.
That's actually something I think it was embedded in me through my father. And I think we look at the things that we want to teach and show people for the purpose of that more than our own benefit. And if we look at it in that perspective, and loving that person or whoever it is, or maybe it's an employee that you want to really elevate because they have such talent, whatever it may be. But, I look at teaching my grandsons just the quality and the integrity of work and working hard. And my dad always said, put your head down and plow. Just keep plowing. One day you'll reap. And that's what you'll do. You'll be able to harvest from that reaping all that you have plowed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's the great part about that. But teaching just some values that I think this next generation needs to see, that they were not able to grow up in a place where you worked on the farm or something like that. It was more, it's different type of work today. It's more, technology and all these different things that they can do that really isn't physically hard at all. And I think it's really good for a person to get out there one day, and maybe it's some sort of a benefit that they go down and help out build an orphanage or whatever it is, but it's so good to be able to do that. And it feels so great to be able to create something and look back and go, that looks good.
Yeah. I like to pivot. In our community, we've been trying to develop and cultivate more dream making and bucket list checking. Is there one or two things that you'd be willing to share with our audience about your bucket list?
Let's see. I would say, really, to be honest with you, it's one of those things where my dream is actually to carry on with what gifts that I've been given from God to help others through the rest of my life. And I always look at this too, that the Bible says that true religion is helping the orphan and the widow. And I look at that and think, that is a joy that is unspeakable. That I went at one time about 10 years ago to Entebbe, Uganda, and helped a school that was too small for the community. And we helped them design and actually figure out how to structure to be able to work with their people to build it, to create the room for these kids. But the time that I spent there with these kids, Ralph, I'm telling you, it was just a life-changing thing. Having like 10 kids that hanging on me that didn't have parents, and squeezing a young girl, because I raised a daughter, and her following me around for 2 hours and every 10 minutes tugging on me and say, can I have another hug? And those are the important things in life. And I think that the gifts and the talents that we get in life, my bucket list would be to go and actually serve in areas like that. And I've had the opportunity to do the homeless shelters up in Oakland and down in Mexico, build some homes. And so all these different things that I think it's really, may sound crazy, but I love to do that kind of stuff. And that would be a bucket list for me to do that full time.
Yes, we often get what we give, isn't it true?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. As we're rounding the corner, we've been here with Jake Hiemstra of Hiemstra Design and Construction, an Orange County firm, building from small beach cottages to large, wonderful homes beachside as well as inland. You've helped us with our office design and decor. It's really come together over the years, and it's stayed together. But Jake, tell me and tell our audience, if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? What do you like them to, how do they find you?
Well, interesting enough, Ralph, is I don't have a website. I don't have an Instagram or anything, but I've had actually people find me through the website House, and they can look me up. Actually, they Google my name. There's all sorts of sites that actually have a lot of my photos of projects that they're able to find me. And obviously through the directory of that, they're able to find my number. In fact, an interesting story I have to tell you just to finish it out.
Sure.
Is, House actually is a website that helps people kind of create ideas for their home and their projects. And I got a call from them one day, and they said, we'd like to talk to you about advertising on our website. And I was like, well, I'm not interested. I don't want to. And they're like, well, don't you want your company to grow? And I said, no, I'm fine where I'm at. And they're like, we don't understand. And they began to tell me that they had over 2,000 calls that 1 month on my projects. And they were like, who is this guy? And, can we get in touch with him? And so we would like to actually be able to get them to you. And I says, well, maybe I don't want that many customers at this point. So it was interesting just to see, how that took place. And I was able to speak at a seminar for them, kind of promote their website and how good it is because of that situation and so forth. But
Yes.
But that'd be the way to get a hold of me. Just look me up that way. And my main goal is if home is where the heart is, then we want to build a home where your heart wants to beat. And if we're a product of your environment, then let's build an environment around you that makes you a better product. And the better product is really about this. You don't start living until you start giving. And that's what life is all about, because when we give, we get more back.
Absolutely. Hiemstra, that's Hiemstra, Hiemstra Design and Construction. Been wonderful. Hey, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I really enjoy your attitude and perspective on life. It's been a blessing working with you, and I'm glad we're still in it together.
Really appreciate you, Ralph. Thank you for the time and opportunity as well.
The information presented in this program is provided for informational purposes only. The information is believed to be reliable, but no guarantee of accuracy is made or implied. Expressions of opinions are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. The information in this material is not intended as tax or legal advice. Please consult a legal or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. This information does not constitute a solicitation or an offer to buy or sell any security. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of capital. Ralph Adamo is registered with the securities and are offered through Kovac Securities, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC, 6451 North Federal Highway, Suite 1201, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33308. Telephone number 954-782-4771. Investment advisory services are offered through Kovac Advisors, Inc. Integrity Wealth Management is not affiliated with Kovac Securities, Inc. or Kovac Advisors, Inc.